The sky over Eastwood Market blushed orange as dusk settled in. Among the chatter of traders packing up the day and the sharp aroma of fried peppered meat, a modest wooden cart stood out, hand-painted in soft blue with fading white flowers. It was Emily Carter's humble noodle stall. A large pot simmered steadily, its broth rich and fragrant. Beside the cart stood a little girl with bright eyes and a tangled puff of curls tied with a pink ribbon. "Mommy, we're almost out of eggs," Lily Carter said, peering into the basket beside the boiling pot. Emily, sleeves rolled up and apron stained with broth, nodded. "We'll make do. Just serve the next bowl. Sweetie, I'll go buy more tomorrow." Lily handed a warm bowl to a young man who dropped a few crumpled bills into the tin. But moments later, a hunched figure shuffled toward the cart. His coat was dusty, shoes worn out, and his silver-gray hair was tousled by the evening wind. He looked around, confused, before lowering himself onto the bench beside the stall. "Sir," Emily asked gently, "would you like a bowl?" The old man blinked, brows furrowing. I had one already, I think. Maybe not. But I'm hungry." Emily exchanged a glance with Lily, then quietly ladled a fresh bowl and placed it in front of him. "This one's on the house. Just enjoy it." The old man looked up, eyes misty. "You're kind. Reminds me of someone I once knew." Before Emily could respond, Lily piped up, "Grandpa, Mommy said eating leftovers makes your tummy ache. This one's fresh, okay?" A soft smile tugged at his lips. "You're a smart little lady." As he slurped his noodles, a tall figure in a dark hoodie stepped out of a nearby black car. He walked with purpose, eyes scanning the crowd. Then he spotted the old man. "Grandpa!" The man called out. The old man paused mid-bite. "Who are you?" "It's me, Ethan." The man in the hoodie approached, pulling the hood back to reveal a sharp-featured man in his early 30s. His eyes, though tired, were warm. He crouched beside the old man and spoke softly. "You wander off again. We've been looking for you for a week." "I wasn't wandering. I was looking." "For what?" The old man lowered his voice, eyes shifting toward Emily. "A granddaughter-in-law. You've been dragging your feet for years." Ethan glanced at Emily, who was now pretending to clean the table, but clearly listening. "I told you I'd take care of it," Ethan muttered. "Well, I found one, right here. Runs a noodle stand. Kind eyes. Smart daughter." The old man sniffed. "Good soup." Emily's cheeks flushed. "Sir, I'm sure your grandson is just worried. I didn't do anything special." "You did more than most," Ethan said, standing. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick envelope for the noodles and for taking care of him. Emily frowned. "That's too much. Please, just take it. My name's Ethan Grant. He's Walter Grant, my grandfather, and he has Alzheimer's." Emily hesitated. Then, shouldn't he be in care? Ethan's expression shifted slightly. "He refuses. Says life isn't worth living locked up. So we let him stay with me. But every now and then he slips away." Walter stood slowly, placing a wrinkled hand on Ethan's arm. "Let's go." "But, Ethan, I'm serious about that girl." As they turned to leave, Lily rushed forward. "Wait. Grandpa, your money." Walter chuckled. "Such a good girl." Ethan took it with a soft smile. "Thank you. What's your name?" "Lily." "Nice to meet you, Lily. Maybe we'll come by again sometime." As the pair disappeared into the streetlight haze, Emily let out a slow breath. Something about that man unsettled her, not in a bad way, but in a strange, stirring kind of way. Later that night, as Emily locked up the stall and carried sleeping Lily on her back, her mind wandered. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out the envelope Ethan left. Inside wasn't just cash, but a folded note. "Thank you for your kindness. If you ever need help or a fresh start, call me. E.g." She stared at the number scrawled beneath the initials. For a moment, she thought about tearing it up, but she didn't. At the Grant estate, Ethan helped his grandfather into bed. The old man mumbled, half asleep, "She's the one." Ethan chuckled softly. "You say that about every girl who makes you soup." "No. Walter said, eyes fluttering closed. This one, she's different. Reminds me of the girl from that night 7 years ago. Ethan froze. He stood motionless as his grandfather drifted into sleep. A girl from 7 years ago. A night he had buried deep. Could it be? No, it couldn't. Unknown to Ethan. In a box under Emily's bed lies a small jade pendant. The only item she had from the man she spent one foggy, forgotten night with 7 years ago, the same night she discovered she was pregnant with quadruplets. And that pendant, it matches the one Ethan still wears around his neck, tucked beneath his shirt. 2 days passed since the noodle stand encounter, but Emily Carter couldn't stop thinking about Ethan Grant. She stood outside Lily's school, holding a worn folder. The city's education board had rejected her application again. Something about housing registration and residency permits. Without a husband or formal address, Lily's enrollment remained in limbo. When she arrived back at the tiny apartment above the market, her neighbor, Mrs. Pruitt, handed her a note. Miss Carter, I hope this isn't forward. My grandfather can't stop talking about your noodles and your kindness. Can we meet? 10 a.m. tomorrow. Oak Hill Cafe. Ethan Grant. Emily folded the note carefully and placed it in her drawer beside the jade pendant. The next morning, she stood in front of Oak Hill Cafe in her plain white blouse and faded jeans, nerves bubbling beneath her calm exterior. The cafe was the kind of place where people wore expensive watches and discussed property investments over croissants. Inside, Ethan waited at a corner booth, dressed not in his hoodie, but a crisp gray blazer. His gaze softened when he saw her. You came, he said, standing to pull out her chair. Why did you ask me here? She asked, sitting cautiously. Ethan folded his hands, choosing his words. My grandfather, he hasn't been this lucid in years. After that night at your stall, he hasn't stopped smiling. Emily nodded slowly. Lily liked him, too. Which brings me to this, he said, sliding a document across the table. A proposal. Emily stiffened. What kind of proposal? He looked directly at her. A marriage contract. 1 year. On paper only. She blinked. Excuse me. My grandfather has early-stage Alzheimer's, but something about you triggered old memories. The doctors say if he stays emotionally happy, his condition might stabilize or even improve. He keeps saying, I need to marry you. He's convinced you're the one. Emily let out a dry laugh. So you want to pretend to be your wife for a year, just to keep your grandfather entertained? Ethan didn't smile. No, not pretend. We'll register legally, but it will be temporary. I'll provide housing, pay Lily's school fees, and give you a monthly allowance. Emily's voice sharpened. So I'd be what? Your charity case? Or your employee? No, Ethan said firmly. My partner, for a limited time. You help me protect Grandpa's health. I help you stabilize your daughter's future. She looked down at the document, her hands trembling. It's not that simple, she whispered. I've been alone for years. I've worked myself raw to give Lily a normal life. And you're from another world. Ethan's tone softened. That's exactly why I chose you. You don't care about money. You didn't take my envelope. You didn't ask for more. I trust you. Emily looked out the window for a long moment. 1 year. 1 year. No physical contact? Ethan raised a brow. Strictly business. I'm not interested in forcing anything you're not comfortable with. And after a year, we part ways. Quietly. No strings. No scandal. She tapped the table slowly. You'll help me enroll Lily? Immediately. My legal team will make it airtight. Emily reached into her bag and pulled out a pen. I want rent deducted from the allowance, and I'll still work. I won't be dependent on you. Ethan smiled for the first time. Deal. 3 days later, in a quiet registry office with only Lily in attendance, Emily Carter and Ethan Grant signed their marriage certificate. Lily looked up at them, confused. Mommy, is this man my new daddy? Emily chuckled nervously. He's a friend. Helping us. Ethan crouched to Lily's level. Think of me as a bodyguard with snacks. Lily giggled. Okay, but I still want to see your superhero license. They moved into a townhouse on the east side of the city. Spacious, well-lit, and clean, it was a stark contrast to the cramped apartment Emily had called home for years. That evening, Ethan brought her a glass of warm milk. "You don't have to wait on me," Emily said, sitting cross-legged on the couch with design books in her lap. "I know, but you look tired," he said gently. She hesitated. "Why are you really doing this? There must be easier ways to make your grandfather happy." Ethan's eyes darkened, voice low. 7 years ago, I lost something. Or someone. I can't remember everything, just fragments. A scent, a pendant, a voice. Grandpa said I laughed that night for the first time in years. Emily's breath caught. "A pendant?" He continued. "Maybe I'm chasing a ghost. Or maybe I just don't want to live with more regrets." Emily swallowed and changed the subject. "Well, we have ground rules." Ethan smirked. "Let me guess, no sharing a bed? No touching my things. No kissing, fake or otherwise. No interfering with my work." He raised a hand. "Agreed, but one condition of mine." She raised an eyebrow. "Always smile in front of Grandpa, and let him call you his granddaughter-in-law." Emily gave a reluctant nod. "Fine, but only in front of him." The next morning, as Grandpa Walter arrived for breakfast with a bouquet of wildflowers in hand, he kissed Emily's forehead and beamed. "You married her," he cried. "You finally did it." Ethan nodded awkwardly. "Yeah, Grandpa, we did." Walter turned to Emily, tears in his eyes. "Thank you for making an old man's wish come true." Emily managed a soft smile. "You're welcome, Grandpa." But her fingers brushed the jade pendant in her apron pocket again, and across the table, under his shirt, Ethan wore its twin. In Ethan's private study, hidden behind a locked drawer, is the CCTV footage from a Green Meadow hotel 7 years ago. The file is corrupted, the woman's face unclear. All that can be seen is the glint of a jade pendant, and the back of a woman who looks exactly like Emily Carter. The warmth of Emily and Ethan's quiet arrangement was beginning to settle into routine. Every morning, Emily would prepare Lily for school, while Ethan made a show of flipping pancakes to impress Grandpa Walter. Their marriage looked real on the surface, but Emily never let her guard down. Behind the walls of their new townhouse, things were peaceful, too peaceful, until a message arrived from the past. "Housewarming party?" Emily asked, reading the printed invitation Ethan handed her. "My grandfather wants to make it official," Ethan said, barely meeting her eyes. He invited the Grant family, board members, even some business partners. "You know this wasn't part of the deal, right?" Ethan nodded. "I know, but just this once for him." Emily sighed. "I don't have anything fancy to wear." "I'll take care of it," he said gently. "There's a stylist on the way." She gave him a look. "This doesn't mean you owe me." "Trust me," Ethan said with a half smile. "No one could ever own you." The party was held at the Grant Estate, a marble-and-glass mansion perched high above the city. Guests arrived in luxury cars, glittering in sequins and tailored suits. Emily stepped out in a deep emerald gown, her curls pinned delicately above her shoulders. Lily held her hand tightly, eyes wide. "You look perfect," Ethan said, offering his arm. "Just remember this is all an act," Emily whispered, looping her arm through his. But inside the grand hall, not everyone was buying performance, especially not Victor Price. Victor stood at the edge of the room, arm looped around a striking blonde woman in red. Vanessa Blake, a renowned designer and recent addition to the Grant Group's elite circle. His eyes darkened as he spotted Emily walking in beside Ethan. "Emily," he muttered. "Who's she?" Vanessa asked, sipping champagne. "No one important," Victor said quickly. "Just someone I used to know." Vanessa raised a brow. "Used to?" Victor adjusted his collar. "We lived together for a while. She raised my child while I worked. We never got legally married. And the house you just registered in your name, isn't that hers?" Victor's jaw clenched. She wouldn't dare challenge me. When Ethan stood to give a short toast, Walter pulled Emily to his side. "My beautiful granddaughter-in-law." Let me tell you all, he said proudly. She's the reason I'm still standing. Emily blushed under the room's full attention. Victor's voice rang out from the back. Funny, I thought she was someone else's wife 7 years ago. Gasps followed. All eyes turned toward Victor and Vanessa. Ethan's smile faltered. Do we have a problem? Victor stepped forward, emboldened. Actually, yes. This woman standing next to you. She lived with me, bought a house with me, gave birth to a child with me, and now she's pretending to be your wife. Emily's hands trembled, but she didn't speak. Ethan stepped in front of her. She's not pretending. Emily Carter is legally my wife now. If you have any business disputes, take it to court. Victor's nostrils flared. You don't know her like I do. No, Ethan replied calmly, but I know who I am, and I don't let people humiliate my wife. Vanessa suddenly stepped forward, feigning surprise. Wait, are you the noodle vendor from Eastwood Market? Emily narrowed her eyes. You know me? Vanessa's eyes sparkled. Of course. I bought noodles from you once. You were lovely. I just never imagined you'd end up here in this crowd. Her voice was syrupy sweet, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. Emily stepped forward, chin high. You're right. I sold noodles. Paid for my daughter's school with them. And that house, I bought it with my own money. Victor chuckled. Except the deed is in my name. Remember? Emily's eyes widened. You registered it behind my back. Ethan's voice was steel. Secretary Rachel. His assistant stepped forward instantly. Yes, Mr. Grant. Get the real estate lawyer. Now. Within minutes, the documents arrived. Emily scanned them and then nearly dropped them. The house she had purchased had been transferred days ago to another woman, Vanessa Blake. Emily stared at her, horrified. You took my house? Vanessa shrugged. Victor offered it, said you owed him for the years of rent-free living. But I paid for that house. Victor smirked. With what? Noodles. Emily raised her hand. But Ethan caught her wrist gently. I'll handle this, he said. No, she said, trembling. I need to say this. She stepped forward and slapped Victor across the face. The room gasped. I may have sold noodles, but at least I earned every cent. You too, you're parasites. Victor recovered quickly, grabbing Emily's arm. That house is mine. You're nothing. Ethan's voice boomed. Let go of my wife. Victor turned. Or what? Ethan pulled a sleek black card from his wallet and tossed it onto the table. That's a legal injunction. By tomorrow morning, the deed will be transferred back to Emily Carter. Vanessa will be disqualified from bidding for any Grant Group contracts indefinitely. Vanessa's face turned white. What gives you the power to do that? Victor hissed. Ethan pulled Emily close. Because I'm not just some stranger. He turned to the crowd. I'm Ethan Grant, CEO of Grant Group. And this woman? She's my wife. A stunned silence rippled through the crowd. Vanessa dropped her champagne flute. Victor stepped back, pale and sweating. Walter cackled with joy. Told you she was the one. Later that night, as they rode back in Ethan's car, Emily stared out the window, silent. You okay? He asked. She nodded. I knew Victor was greedy, but I never thought he'd take the house from me and give it to her. Ethan looked at her with quiet admiration. You didn't even flinch. Not once. I've flinched enough in my life. It's time I stood for something. There was a long pause. I meant what I said, by the way. Ethan said softly, You're not alone anymore. Emily looked over at him, and for the first time, her walls began to shift, just a little. As Emily tucked Lillian to bed that night, a knock sounded at the door. When she opened it, she gasped. Standing in the doorway were 3 boys, rough, tired, but unmistakably familiar. Are you Emily Carter? The eldest asked. Yes. We think you're our mom. Emily's hands flew to her mouth as she stared at the 3 boys standing in her doorway. Her mind tried to make sense of what her heart already knew. Same dark brown eyes. Same slight cleft in the chin. Even Lily, who had peeked from behind her, gasped. They look like me, she whispered. The tallest boy stepped forward. His voice was steady, but he held himself with caution. I'm Lucas. This is Liam, and that's Leo. We were told you might be our mom. Emily staggered back a step. That's impossible. I only had one child. Not true, Lucas said. We were raised at Shallon Heights by Master Nolan. He found us in a river years ago. Said someone abandoned us, wrapped in the same baby blanket, each with a piece of a jade pendant. Emily's breath caught. Jade pendant? Liam reached into his pocket and held out a shard, green, smooth, shaped like a crescent. Emily ran upstairs. She fumbled through a jewelry box until her fingers found what she hadn't looked at in years, her own half of the pendant. When she returned, her hand shook as she pressed her piece next to the one in Liam's palm. They fit perfectly. Leo tilted his head. So you're our real mom? Emily dropped to her knees and gathered all three into her arms, tears falling freely. Yes, you are my sons. Lily joined them, looking up at Lucas, Liam, and Leo. So, I have brothers? Lucas gave a half-smile. 3 of us. Awesome, Lily grinned. Now nobody at school can mess with me. By morning, Ethan returned from an overnight business trip and found Emily asleep on the living room rug. Lily curled on her chest, and the 3 boys tucked protectively around her. He stared for a long moment, stunned, then whispered, So it was you all along. Later that day, the family sat down around the breakfast table. Grandpa Walter watched them with wide eyes. You mean I've got 4 great-grandkids? He asked, voice shaking with laughter. Leo nodded proudly. And we're all strong. I can lift Lily with one hand. Show off, Lily muttered, munching toast. Ethan pulled Emily aside in the kitchen. How is this even possible? I thought I lost them, Emily said quietly. After Lily was born, I collapsed. They told me she was the only survivor. The hospital claimed the others didn't make it, but someone lied. Ethan's jaw clenched. Victor, I don't know, but I'll find out who sold my children like merchandise. They weren't sold, came a voice behind them. It was Lucas. He looked older than his age, 12 going on 20. Master Nolan told us we were abandoned during a storm, but the blanket had your name sewn in. Emily blinked away tears. You remembered? Lucas nodded. I've been searching for you ever since. Ethan stepped forward, placing a hand on Lucas's shoulder. You found her, and I swear no one will ever hurt this family again. That evening, Ethan ordered DNA tests for all 3 boys. Results came back the next morning. 99.9% match. Biological. Siblings. His children. Ethan sat alone in his study after reading the report. His hand went instinctively to the jade pendant around his neck. 7 years ago, a drunken night at the Green Meadow Hotel. He barely remembered anything, just flashes. A girl with gentle hands. Soft humming. A pendant pressed against his chest. And then, her, Emily Carter, his wife, the mother of his children, and she didn't even know. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Victor Price stood by the docks, watching crates being loaded. Vanessa Blake joined him. Sunglasses perched atop her sleek hair. Did you hear? She asked. Emily's kids showed up. All of them. Victor's voice was cold. Vanessa shrugged. Apparently. And now Ethan's playing house. Victor lit a cigarette, exhaling slowly. That woman never knew her children survived. I paid the midwife to lie. Told her only one child made it. And you sold the others to an orphanage? I placed them, he snapped. I needed the money for my business. Vanessa arched an eyebrow. Business or gambling? Victor's silence was answer enough. Back at the Grand Estate, Grandpa Walter gathered the family in the garden. We're throwing a welcome banquet, he declared, for the children, and to announce to the board that Ethan is no longer a bachelor. Emily blinked. That's not necessary. Yes, it is, Walter insisted. You're a part of this family now. Ethan met Emily's eyes. She looked away quickly. That night, Emily sat alone by the window, staring out at the lights of the city. Ethan joined her, setting down 2 mugs of tea. "I never thought this would happen," she whispered. "Me neither," he replied. "But now that it has, what do we do?" Emily sipped her tea. "We raise them, one step at a time." He nodded, but his voice was hesitant. "Emily, the night I met you, 7 years ago. Do you remember anything?" Her hands froze around the cup. "No." "Why?" "No reason," he lied. "Just curiosity." But Emily's eyes flickered. She remembered everything. Emily lied. She did remember the night at the Green Meadow Hotel. The pendant, the warmth, the man's voice calling her name. She recognized Ethan the moment he showed up at her noodle stall, but chose to stay silent because she didn't want to be loved out of guilt or obligation. She wanted to be chosen freely. The grand estate shimmered with golden light. Final preparations for the family banquet were underway. Red lanterns lined the hedges, and a string quartet rehearsed beneath a silk-draped canopy. The event was meant to be a celebration. Ethan's marriage, the return of the triplets, and Grandpa Walter's restored health. But beneath the elegant surface, storms brewed. Emily stood on the balcony of her room, watching workers set up tables. Lily and her brothers ran across the garden below, chasing bubbles and shouting with laughter. It should have been perfect. Instead, her stomach churned, because Vanessa Blake had been spotted again, lurking outside Ethan's office, lurking near the children's school. And she wasn't just gossiping anymore. She was planning. That afternoon, Vanessa strode into Grant Group headquarters dressed in a designer suit and an attitude of entitlement. She ignored the receptionist and stormed up to the 15th floor, where Ethan's private office loomed. Secretary Rachel stood to block her path. "You're not on the calendar, Miss Blake." Vanessa smiled thinly. "I don't need an appointment to speak to the man whose career I helped build." Rachel didn't budge. "If you don't leave." The office door opened. Ethan stood in the doorway. "It's fine, Rachel," he said. "Let the snake in." Vanessa entered without a word. The moment the door closed, she dropped her charm. "So you're playing family now?" Ethan leaned against his desk, arms crossed. "What do you want?" Vanessa threw down a manila envelope. Proof. Inside were photographs from 7 years ago. Grainy, but clear enough. Ethan being carried into the hotel, drugged. A woman entering the room shortly after. A shadowed image of Vanessa handing money to a hotel staffer. Ethan flipped through the photos slowly. "You drugged me?" Vanessa shrugged. "You wouldn't look twice at me, so I made sure you did. But then that other girl walked into the wrong room. I tried to clean it up, bribed the nurse, paid off the midwife, told Victor to keep her away." Ethan's voice was low. "You knew she was pregnant?" "Of course. But you were going to Europe. I thought it'd all fade. Then she disappeared. I thought the baby hadn't survived." "You lied to me," Ethan said, eyes blazing. "You stole 7 years from my children." Vanessa stepped closer. "I did it for you. I loved you." "No, Vanessa," Ethan said. "You loved the idea of owning me, but you lost." Vanessa's voice cracked. "You're throwing away everything for her?" Ethan's reply was ice cold. "Yes, and if you come near Emily or the kids again, I'll destroy everything you care about." Vanessa's jaw clenched, her eyes glinting with rage. "Then I have nothing left to lose." That evening, Emily received a call from a number she didn't recognize. "Emily Carter?" came a low voice. "If you value your daughter, come to Dockside Warehouse 4. No police. No Ethan. 1 hour." The line went dead. She looked around. Lily was in her room. The boys were playing video games downstairs. "Lily," she called. No answer. Panic tightened her chest. She dashed into Lily's room. Empty. The window was slightly open. Her daughter's favorite stuffed rabbit lay abandoned on the floor. Emily's world spun. She didn't call the police. She called Ethan. When Ethan arrived, he found Emily pacing the front yard, pale and wild-eyed. "They took her," she said. "Vanessa has Lily." Without hesitation, Ethan grabbed his phone. "Rachel, get the car. Trace the number that called Emily. Pull all security footage from the block. I want every exit point checked. Already done, Rachel replied. They went toward the docks. Ethan turned to Emily. We're getting her back. No, she said. I'm getting her back. You're not going alone. She's my daughter, Ethan. She's ours, he snapped, and we're going together. At the dockyard, the air was thick with salt and danger. Warehouse 4 stood at the edge of the pier, its rusted door slightly ajar. Inside, Lily was tied to a chair, unharmed but frightened. Standing beside her were Vanessa and Victor Price. Emily froze. You, she whispered. Victor smirked. Long time no see, Emily. You sold my sons. Victor shrugged. I didn't sell them. I placed them. You forged my name on the deed, robbed me, and now you're kidnapping Lily? She's leverage. Vanessa, cut in. You walk away from Ethan. You leave the city, or you'll lose her. Ethan's voice thundered from the shadows. Wrong move. Dozens of lights flared on. Security agents emerged from behind crates, armed and ready. Rachel stepped into view with backup. Vanessa grabbed Lily by the arm. Stay back. I swear I'll... She didn't finish, because from behind, Lucas, Liam, and Leo burst through the side door, charging like a stampede. Leo slammed into Victor. Lucas tackled Vanessa. Liam untied Lily and pulled her behind a crate. Within seconds, Victor was pinned. Vanessa lay crying, clutching a torn dress and broken heels. Ethan ran to Lily and scooped her into his arms. I got you, he whispered. I got you, baby. Emily collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed. Her son stood tall around her, breathing hard. We told you we'd protect her, Lucas said. You're grounded, she sobbed, hugging them. All of you. The police arrived moments later. Vanessa and Victor were arrested on multiple charges: kidnapping, conspiracy, fraud, and obstruction. As she was dragged into the back of the police car, Vanessa screamed, You haven't won Emily. He'll never love a noodle vendor. Never. But Emily didn't flinch, because for once, she believed that love wasn't about titles or silk gowns. It was about choice, and she had made hers. Back at the estate, Ethan finally handed Emily a restored copy of security footage from 7 years ago. She watched in silence as the screen showed a familiar scene: the Green Meadow Hotel, room 611, and a younger version of herself cradling a jade pendant. Ethan stood behind her, voice shaking. It's always been you. But Emily simply said, I know, because she had never forgotten. The aftermath of the rescue left the Grand Estate both shaken and emboldened. Security was tightened. Reporters hovered at the gates. And yet, inside the grand walls of the mansion, the air felt lighter, as though something heavy had finally been lifted. Emily sat in the garden, arms wrapped around Lily while the boys played soccer nearby. Ethan approached quietly, watching his family with an expression that carried both awe and guilt. She's okay, he asked. Emily nodded, her voice soft, still a little shaken, but Lily's stronger than she looks. I should have seen it coming, Ethan murmured, sitting beside her. Victor? Vanessa? I underestimated them both. No, Emily said, her gaze steady. You protected us. All of us. You didn't hesitate. Ethan hesitated now. Emily, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've buried for years. She tilted her head, curious. Is this about the pendant? Yes. And the night 7 years ago, at Green Meadow Hotel. Emily stiffened but didn't look away. I was drugged that night, Ethan said. There was a party. Vanessa spiked my drink and arranged to be alone with me in that hotel suite. But something went wrong. You walked in instead. I was there to deliver a design portfolio, Emily said quietly, to a guest in 612. Wrong room, wrong time. Ethan blinked. So it really was an accident? Emily nodded. But I saw you, barely conscious. And something told me not to leave you alone. You stayed. I stayed. I made sure you were okay. You didn't touch me inappropriately. You just cried in your sleep, called out for someone named Mom. Ethan's eyes burned. That was the year she died. I remember thinking you looked so broken. So I held your hand, and then you kissed me. I don't remember that, he whispered, but I've had dreams, flashes, and always that jade pendant. I found the other half that night, Emily said, pulling it from her pocket, and I kept it. I thought I'd forget. But then I found out I was pregnant. Why didn't you come to me? Ethan asked, voice tight. I tried, Emily said, but you were gone, moved to Europe. Vanessa met me at your office and told me you wanted nothing to do with me. I had no way of knowing the truth. Ethan's fists clenched. She kept it from me. She took my children, stole my life. But I'm not a victim, Ethan, Emily said firmly. I built a life. I raised Lily. And somehow, by God's grace, the boys found their way back to me. Ethan turned to her, eyes searching. Do you regret it? Any of it? Emily shook her head. Not for a second. I just wish you'd been there. For them. For me. Silence lingered, heavy with everything unsaid. Then Ethan took her hand. Marry me again, he said. Not for Grandpa, not for the company, but for real, as the man who loved you before he even knew you. Emily's breath caught. Are you asking or telling? She whispered. I'm begging. A soft smile touched her lips. Ask me again when I trust you completely. That night, a knock sounded at the door. Lucas answered. A deliver man stood, holding a sleek silver case. This was sent anonymously, for Miss Carter. Emily opened it cautiously and gasped. Inside were 3 baby bracelets. Silver, engraved with their birth dates, and the names. Lucas, Liam, Leo, along with a note. They were never supposed to survive. I paid for silence. But fate had other plans. Emily turned to Ethan. It's Vanessa's handwriting. Ethan frowned. She's in custody. How did this get out? Rachel called seconds later. Sir, urgent news. Vanessa Blake escaped transport this afternoon. The police believe someone inside helped her vanish. Ethan's voice dropped. Find her. Now. Meanwhile, across the city, Vanessa stood in a hidden villa, breathing fast. Her once sleek hair was messy, her designer clothes replaced with plain jeans. Her hand trembled as she touched the last shred of control she had. Emily's past. She thinks she's safe, Vanessa hissed, but I know the final secret, and I'll ruin them all. The next morning, as Emily walked Lily to school, a black car pulled up beside them. A tinted window rolled down. Vanessa sat in the back seat, calm and cold. Get in, Emily. We need to talk. Emily pulled Lily close. I'm not going anywhere with you. Vanessa smirked. You might want to hear what I know before you marry Ethan Grant. Emily narrowed her eyes. Vanessa held up a folded document. A copy of a marriage certificate, dated 6 months before you ever met Ethan. Emily stared, confused. What is this? Proof that Ethan was already married. To someone else. Someone who died shortly after. You're not the first Mrs. Grant. Emily froze. Vanessa leaned closer. Did he ever tell you about her? No, Emily said slowly. Exactly. Because you were just a replacement. Emily clenched her fists. Even if that were true, he chose me. Now get out of my way. Vanessa's smile was poison. When the past catches up, Emily, love won't be enough. The car sped off. Emily stood frozen, Lily beside her. Her mind spun. What else was Ethan hiding? That evening. Ethan waited at the dinner table, a velvet box hidden in his coat pocket. But Emily never came down. Not for dinner, not for a walk, and not for the proposal. Emily found Ethan's late wife's file hidden in the Grant family archives. A woman with her same birth date, similar features, and the same pendant. Not only had Vanessa lied, but there was a deeper mystery, one that even Ethan didn't know. The grand banquet hall of the Grant estate glowed with opulence. Rows of golden chairs flanked long marble tables. Crystal chandeliers cast soft light over meticulously plated hors d'oeuvres. The event had been planned as a celebration of family and redemption, but tension clung to every surface. Ethan stood near the stage, hands in his pockets, scanning the entrance every 5 seconds. Emily hadn't arrived. His proposal still sat in his coat pocket, unopened. Grandpa Walter hobbled over, cane tapping against the floor. You look like a lovesick puppy. Ethan sighed. She's not answering her phone. Because she's thinking, Walter said. And you need to let her. But I was going to propose, again, tonight, the right way. Walter tapped his cane against Ethan's shoe. You've had 7 years to do the right thing, boy. Give her one more night to decide whether she wants forever. Just then, the doors opened. Emily walked in, wearing a soft blue dress that hugged her like calm ocean waves. Her children flanked her. Lucas, Liam, Leo, and Lily, all dressed neatly and glowing with pride. Every head in the hall turned. Murmurs swept through the crowd. She came. Ethan whispered, but Emily wasn't smiling. She walked straight to him, her heels clicking with purpose. I need the truth, she said, voice low but firm. Ethan blinked. About what? Emily held out the document Vanessa had shown her. Your first wife. Her name was Elaine. She died before we met. Why didn't you ever tell me? Ethan froze. I was ashamed. Of her? Emily asked. No, he said, voice catching. Of what I became after losing her. I married Elaine in college. It was rushed, built on pressure. And after she died in a car crash, I buried myself in work. I swore I'd never open my heart again. Until you... Emily studied his face. And the pendant? She asked. She had one, too. Ethan reached into his shirt and pulled out the jade piece. It wasn't hers. It was passed me by my mother. I kept it as a reminder to never get too close. Until I met a woman who walked into my hotel room by mistake and changed everything. Emily's fingers brushed a matching piece in her own pocket. You could have told me, she said. I would have understood. I know, but I didn't want to lose what we were just starting to build. I was scared I'd break it. Emily held his gaze. Then let's not break it. Not again. Grandpa Walter clapped his hands loudly. Enough whispering. Let the feast begin. As the waiters began serving dishes, Ethan cleared his throat and stepped onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, tonight we were meant to celebrate family, but I realize that family isn't just about blood or last names. It's about truth, forgiveness, and choice. He turned toward Emily, who now stood by her children. I married this woman on paper, but it never felt fake, not for a moment, because every laugh, every argument, every time she told me not to put ketchup on my pasta, it felt like home. Laughter rippled through the crowd. And now I want to do it the right way. He stepped down from the stage, walked to Emily, and knelt. I, Ethan Grant, ask you, Emily Carter, mother of my children, keeper of my peace, will you marry me for real? No contracts. No secrets. Just us. Emily blinked, emotions washing over her in waves. Lucas nudged her. Say yes, Mom. He's rich and cool. Leo added, he cooks pancakes. Liam whispered, you already love him. We all see it. Lily reached up and took Ethan's hand. I want us to be one big family. Forever. Emily's eyes welled with tears. Yes, she whispered. Cheers exploded through the hall. Grandpa Walter threw his cane in the air. I can die happy now. Later, as guests danced and music filled the room, a man entered quietly, uninvited. He wore a simple brown robe and walked straight to the family table. Emily turned in surprise. Master Nolan? The boys jumped up in joy. Master, he smiled. I had to see it with my own eyes. He handed Emily a sealed letter. This came for you last week. It was sent to the temple from someone named Dr. Beatrice Lang. Emily opened the letter carefully and gasped. She was the obstetrician from 7 years ago, she explained. The one I never got to speak with. The letter read, Dear Emily, I was threatened into silence by Victor Price and Vanessa Blake. Your fourth child, the girl, was not stillborn as they told you. She was taken. I've lived in fear for years. But I found the adoption record. The girl is alive. She was placed with a foreign family and named Grace. Emily clutched the letter, her knees weakening. Ethan caught her. What is it? I have another daughter, she whispered. She's alive. The pendant Emily wore? It was split not in two, but in 5 pieces, for her children and one still missing. A small girl named Grace, now 6 years old, living abroad, wore the 5th piece around her neck, waiting to find a mother she never knew.